Hi, good evening. It's Dr. Sarah Gordon of the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. I am doing something a little different tonight. I'm here by myself. It's been a long time since I've been solo on the show, and I like to call these moments on my journey with my show and my podcast as a philosophical pause. I did one a while ago, and tonight seemed like the right time to do this again. Let me tell you why I feel that way tonight. So, life is interesting, right? When we put ourselves out there and we allow ourselves to be a little bit vulnerable at times, we make new connections in our lives. We broaden our our worldview and our understanding of life. And so, through a good friend of mine, Terry Vanderwert, who is the founder of a website called Senior Triathletes, I had met him on my PhD journey because my dissertation research was with older triathletes. And I met Terry. So he's been a wonderful mentor to me. If you haven't seen the website, seniortriathletes.com, there's a lot of great information and resources on it. He does a lot of stories about people, similar to how I invite people on my show and talk about their stories. Terry does the same on his website. But Terry connected me with somebody that he thought I would be interested in his story, and and he was gracious enough to connect us. Now, at the time, I didn't know much, and it was a name, and I trusted Terry's instincts in terms of I should take that next step and reach out. And actually, in hindsight, I'm not sure who made the first introduction there. Maybe Terry told him about me or vice versa, but nevertheless, we made a connection. What I would soon find out is this gentleman, he's just remarkable. He's very modest and very humble. And I don't even know if his story has really been out there or written. Um, but he started running, I guess, I don't know, 50 years ago, maybe 60 years ago. He's 80 now, and he was one of the ultra endurance, ultra marathon runners before it was even really a big thing. I mean, he did it so many years ago. He created 100-mile races. He, he's he's ran probably the globe a few times. I mean, hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles. And what I learned about him is that the running was really a way to run through life, right? I always say on the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast, life is not a straight path. It has lots of curves in it. And it's the same thing with running, right? You see lots of different things. You learn lots of different things on all those miles, hard miles, easy miles, maintenance miles, the long game of human performance. And this gentleman, he's just, I'm just so grateful that he came into my life. In the short time that I've known him, he has challenged me to think outside the box, to search a little bit more within myself, to find some more inner peace. And I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful that he came into my life. So with that, he he's been writing. He's been writing a lot and kind of putting his life journey into words. And he wrote something that he shared with me that was just absolutely beautiful. And when I read it, and I would really love to get him on the show, have him as a live guest. But for tonight, I asked him, can I read this? Can I read this on my podcast? It's just so impactful. It's so profound. And he said yes. So with his permission, I'm going to read something that he wrote tonight. I'm so grateful for it. And let me tell you that my new friend, his name is Jerry Dunn. They like to call him America's Marathon Man. He's a remarkable man. Look him up. If you don't already know his name, you might know him. But if you don't, look him up. You'll see all the hundreds and hundreds of races that he's done, the events that he's created. He's done a lot of philanthropy work. In more recent years he has pivoted to cycling, still running, but also avid cyclist. He just personifies what I talk about, the long game of human performance, about aging with good health, aging with a positive attitude. He carries a lot of life lessons into his now 80th year, and he's writing a lot of things down. And I'm honored to read something that he's written tonight. And I guess look at my notes a bit here. I made a bunch of notes, and a lot of times I get on here and I just start talking. So bear with me. It is unplugged. But what he talks about and what I'm going to read to you tonight, it's called Make Kindness Our Default. And this is written by Jerry Dunn, America's Marathon Man. And this is actually the first time on my podcast. This is episode 57, where I have presented something that somebody sent to me, and to read on their behalf. So I'm really honored to do this tonight. After I read it, just want to reflect a little bit and just talk about how it might impact you as well when you hear it. Okay? So here we go, written by Jerry Dunn, America's Marathon Man. Something is charming about the phrase random acts of kindness. It feels spontaneous, unexpected, like a small miracle breaking through the routine of an ordinary day. Something we can pat ourselves on the shoulder for and then move on. But the more I've lived, the more I've come to believe that kindness doesn't have to be random at all. Kindness is something we can practice every day, a way of life we choose. I've spent much of my life moving through the world in ways others might call random acts of kindness, picking up a tab, offering a ride, listening longer than most would, even when my time was limited, helping someone clean a yard, solve a problem, or simply giving them a moment to feel seen. To me, it never felt random. It felt natural. Because kindness, when practiced enough, stops being something we do and becomes who we are. The word random almost lets us off the hook. It suggests that kindness is something we offer when the mood strikes, when it's convenient, when we feel generous, when life is going well. But what if kindness wasn't dependent on mood or circumstance? What if it came from discipline, practice, and consistency? I think about the way I trained my body over decades of running and thousands of miles. I didn't wake up one morning and run across the state. I built that capacity step by step, mile by mile, choice by choice. Kindness can work the same way. A kind life doesn't have to be loud, attention-seeking, or built on grand gestures. It grows from small, consistent decisions, being patient instead of reactive, listening instead of interrupting, giving without keeping score, seeing someone instead of overlooking them. Over time, those choices accumulate, and like training the body, we adapt until it becomes natural. Those micro decisions shape our character, just as miles shape my journey as an ultra endurance runner. When kindness becomes a habit, something shifts. We stop asking, should I help? And we start asking, how can I help? Not calculating a return, not questioning whether it's deserved, but simply choosing to act, to serve, to give. Because this is who we can be at our best as people. There's a quiet power in this way of living. It isn't loud or performative. It doesn't seek attention or approval. It simply asks us to stay steady, to be reliable, to be present. And that kind of presence changes a room without ever announcing itself. It's a subtle, genuine, and real energy. And here's what most people miss. Consistent kindness doesn't change the world, just change the world around us. It changes us. It softens the edges hardened by life. It rewires our internal dialogue from inward to outward. It shifts our focus from scarcity to connection. And in doing so, we begin to see opportunities differently. I choose this life. I chose this life. My story shaped by a journey that has carried me farther than I ever imagined. Lessons etched in hundreds of miles on trails and roads around the world. I've learned to see deeply, like a runner reading a trail, aware of the hidden roots that can catch your footing. Where each step builds momentum, and every mile forward becomes a life touched. Maybe it's time we retired the phrase random acts of kindness. Not because it's wrong, because it doesn't challenge us enough. It doesn't push us far enough. It doesn't ask us enough about who we could become. Let's replace it with something stronger, more intentional. Let's make kindness a daily practice rooted in discipline, consistency, and awareness. Let's make it our default setting. Not random, not occasional, not when it's easy, but always. Because in the end, a life measured in kindness isn't built on a few shining moments. It's built on it's built on thousands of quiet ones, the ones that last. What decades of running across the globe have taught me. I've been met with kindness in every corner of the world through smiles, generosity, and human connection. I have given to others through my practice of kindness, and here too have seen how this energy changes lives. I've seen what happens when kindness shows up where it may not have existed before. And I've lived the moments when one more step felt impossible. Thousands of miles later, as America's marathon man, I have seen firsthand what practicing kindness can do, how it can change lives. And maybe that's why I ran all those miles after all. That brings tears to my eyes. Because for me, excuse me, I just read that, right? But the reality is that somebody's life, their life journey, their life's wisdoms, the things that they've learned the hard way, the easy way, the mundane way, the exciting way, all those moments in life that Jerry learned to write that piece and to put that together and to share it here on my podcast. I'm eternally grateful to that. And I hope, and if you want to get a copy of it, you can reach out to me. And I think that it'll be published in other venues and areas as well. But if you pause and you think about it, it's so powerful, right? These lessons that he learned in training and running across the globe as an ultra endurance athlete, as a runner. I mean, ultimately, when we pursue these things in our lives, we pursue, you know, triathlon and ultra endurance events and all these things that challenge ourselves physically and mentally. Let's not remember that when we go out in the world to do these things, to give back, to find ways to give back, to spread positive energy, to, as a friend of mine used to tell me, sprinkle pixie dust. Really to look at the places that we're visiting and to see if there are ways that we can give back and we can improve the lives of other people around us. Isn't that what it's all about? You know, Jerry's point is that to be an ultra endurance athlete, to be an athlete, to get through a PhD program, to get through some of these journeys, they require a lot of hard work, a lot of discipline, a lot of consistency. Well, why can't we put that towards kindness, being kind to each other, and just to spread some love and some joy and some happiness and some kindness into the world. Let's not just consider it as a random act of kindness. Let's make it our daily practice. And that's what Jerry's writing is all about. And I apologize, but it did hit me emotionally and deeply because it's easy for me to sit here and read it. But to understand the lived experiences of this gentleman who is just extraordinary is just, I hope that you can go back and you can listen to this multiple times and you can hear the authenticity in the words. So I want to leave you with a few questions to sit with tonight as you think about what you heard here tonight. Where in your life is kindness still random, okay, instead of intentional? And how can we make it intentional? How can we practice it with discipline and consistency, right? It's in like these micro moments of our lives. It doesn't have to be grand, huge gestures. It can be small gestures that we put in our lives daily throughout the day. What would it look like to practice kindness the way you practice discipline, right? That's a big question there. And I guess something that Jerry challenges us to consider in reading this tonight is, you know, who do we become, right? Who do we transform? How do we transform our lives if we start to think about kindness as just something that's just part of who we are and not just something that we just do randomly once in a while? In sport, we often say that performance is built over time through effort, recovery, adaptation, and return. But maybe the same is true for how we show up in the world, right? Not through, like I said, grand gestures, but through small, consistent choices. Sometimes they can be quiet choices. No one even has to see it. No one has to know you did it, right? I have a friend who said to me, his father used to say to him, do good deeds just whether somebody sees you do it or not, right? Do things quietly and do them from your heart and be authentic and genuine about it. So I want to thank my friend, new friend, Jerry Dunn, for trusting me tonight to read that piece. I would like to share on a personal note. I've had a lot of things going on in my life. I have an elderly parent who I just transitioned into a senior community. It was a very hard transition for me. She lived with me for 10 years, and I miss her, and I love her dearly. I'm so grateful to still have my mom at 88. But I took her out today, and she's a photographer, and we went to take pictures of tulips. And we stopped at this beautiful little bed and breakfast kind of in the town where we live. And we were just sitting there taking pictures of tulips, just really enjoying the day, right? Nothing complicated. And out of nowhere, this nice gentleman came out and started to talk to us and was, I guess, interested in us taking pictures. I found out he actually takes care of the grounds of where we were taking pictures of the flowers. And he went back in and then he came out and he brought my mom a little plant. Like I don't, what do you call it? Like when it's in water, it's like trimming of a plant in this pretty little vase. And he gave it to her. And he just said, I want you to have this. It was just such a sweet gesture and kind of unexpected, right? Then that's thought that would be enough, right? I was getting her into the car, and my mom uses a walker, and there was some gravel, and we were struggling a little bit, but I did get her in. And he comes back out, and he hands us a note for 2 free nights at this beautiful bed and breakfast. It makes me cry. It was so kind. And I said to him, "You don't even know this, but I'm recording a podcast episode tonight on kindness." And you just absolutely exemplified it. Don't understand why or how, or I just don't understand it, except to say that when we do these things, my mom and myself, we were just absolutely floored by this you know gesture. And I believe that this is just who this person is, that this was not just one random act of kindness. I believe that he is the type of person who is demonstrating what I'm talking about tonight and what Jerry wrote about, just finding opportunities. And I guess that was a little bit more of a grand kind of, it was very generous and very kind. But however it touches your heart, right? However it touches your heart, let's be kind. Let's bring out the best in each other. Let's encourage each other to be the best versions of ourselves we can be. There's a lot of anger in the world, right? A lot of chaos. So maybe we can start with kindness, use it in a way like we do when we train our bodies for sport and for endurance events and ultra endurance events, through discipline, consistency, and maintenance, right? Let's just make kindness who we are. So that's my message tonight. Um, I have a guest coming on this weekend, Paul Capuzzo with Capuzzo Multisport Training. We're going to talk about his training philosophy and just keep this journey going and this path going in terms of having people on my show that really teach us how to overcome obstacles, how to put the hard work in and go after our goals, and never give up on ourselves, right? The PhD Journey Unplugged podcast will always be about mental health, physical health, and social emotional health. And perhaps tonight, because I am calling this, kind of a philosophical pause, perhaps it's time for me to share a bit about where that comes from, because I say it all the time. And when I talk about, Jerry's piece tonight in terms of kindness. So in my PhD program, um, we had a student in our program who was a veteran, Purple Heart recipient, and had prosthetic legs, or one leg, and who lost a leg, I guess, in service. And he was in the program and he didn't make it. He took his life. And we are studying health and human performance. And I didn't have a class with him. His name was Chris Chandler, but it impacted me so deeply, right? Here we are studying health and human performance. Okay, we're health promotion leaders, and somebody in our own cohort was struggling with whatever, mental health, PTSD, whatever it was. And I made a commitment to myself when I heard about that I would, one, dedicate my dissertation to him, or at least part of it in my dedication, and two, that I would always be a voice to remind people to never give up on your life, to never give up on yourself, to always ask for help. There's so many people out there who want to help you. Listen, I have had my moments too. I've had a lot of obstacles, and one day I will share some of those stories with you. But I've had those moments too. But I found my way out. I had the people by my side that were shining lights that held a hand out to me. And I am here now to hold my hand out to you through my podcast and through my show, to always remind you that you are enough and that your life does matter. And that a lot of times in the hard, and I know it's difficult to understand this when you're going through something hard, but a lot of times when we put ourselves in that hard, it's where we grow. It's where we get strength. It's where we get resilience. It's where we learn about life in a deeper way. It doesn't always feel good, but believe me, I'm a living example of that's a lot of times where we get the strength and the courage and the optimism. I know it sounds crazy, but a lot of times when you go through very hard things in your lives, you come out of it with a deeper sense of appreciation for life and kindness, right? You are kind to people because you understand that people struggle and have a lot of things that they're dealing with. Sports and sports participation teach us a lot of the same lessons about resiliency, courage, and strength. You know, a lot of people don't know this, but on my shoulder, I have a tattoo, strength and endurance. I've had it there for a long time now. It used to mean strength and endurance to get through a marathon. Got it in my 20s. It now means strength and endurance for life, right? We're in it for the long game. We're never going to give up. We're going to live our best lives through physical activity, through good nutrition, through good sleep, through stress reduction and finding great balance in our life, through practicing kindness. All these things can give us a beautiful life. And that's my message tonight on the philosophical pause. Thank you, Terry Vanderwert, for making the connection. Thank you, Jerry Dunn, for believing in me, for teaching me, and for giving me the opportunity to read your very philosophical words tonight on the PhD Journey Unplugged. I'll be back in a few days. Episode 58. We'll get back at it with Paul Capuzza and talk about his training philosophy and his coaching philosophy, and to remind us to keep moving forward with strength and endurance. All right, everybody, good night. And thank you as always for trusting me and tuning in to the PhD Journey Unplugged podcast. Bye.